Home Office Minister Angela Eagle is with us this morning. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us on the programme. Let's just start with Syria, should we? Tell me about the aid that the PM announced yesterday. I think it's £11 million in addition to the humanitarian aid that they already get. Will that be released immediately? What's the plan?
I think that it's going to be made available for humanitarian purposes as and when we can get it in there. The situation's very fluid and difficult at the moment, but as soon as it's possible to give that extra assistance to ensure that we can help people who've been left without support, we will do it.
OK. Yesterday I spoke to Pat McFadden, and he was telling me that you would look again at whether SHT would...
HTS.
HTS, there we go. I'm having one of those days today. Should no longer be a prescribed terror organisation or not. He said it's something that you would be looking at. Any closer to deciding?
Well, I think that as a Home Office Minister, I'm not going to comment publicly on how we do prescriptions and how we review them. But the point I think Pat was making was that we keep them under constant review. And given that
especially when they could be running a country.
But they're not yet. It's a very fluid situation. The issue really is that the fall of the brutal Assad dictatorship is something that we all want to welcome. We're seeing that play out now with the opening of the prisons and all of that. And what we will do is what we always do, which is keep a very close eye on the decisions that have been made on prescription. And we review them constantly, but we don't comment either in the Home Office on where we are with that. We'll make an announcement if and when there's going to be one.
OK.
I'm sorry to be a bit opaque about that,
totally
but that's the nature of it.
Yeah, I obviously needed to ask. Why have you decided now is the right time to pause asylum claims from Syria?
Because the main reason people claim asylum from Syria, and in the last few years the grant rate has been very, very high, is that they were fleeing from the brutal Assad regime, which has just collapsed before our eyes. So we can't...
they're being replaced by
You're exactly right, and therefore there is no basis at the moment to make asylum claims that are already in the system. There are about 6,500 of those. So we can't measure any decision against a factual reality at the moment. So we're going to pause to let things play out a bit and see what then happens, because we don't have the criteria to make a decision given the rapidly changing situation.
Although, as things stand at the moment, the country is being run by what the British government thinks is a terror organisation.
Well, it's not being run yet. Damascus has fallen. We don't really know what kind of regime or system will come out of the chaos that we've seen. We do welcome the fact that the Assad regime, which was brutal, has gone. That's good. But what replaces it is not yet clear, and that is why we have to pause asylum claims and wait to see what happens.
Talk to me about this deal that was done yesterday in Germany over migration.
Well, it's a very welcome joint deal, which was really begun when the Prime Minister met the Chancellor Schulz in August, talked about some of the practical operational issues that we were finding were making it more difficult for us to track the organised criminality that uses Germany as a base for storing boats and boat equipment and smuggling people through. And there were some frustrations on both sides about the operation of German law. There were some worries about how that might work. So we've come to this agreement, which was signed yesterday in the Home Office between the Home Secretary and her counterpart in Germany, which makes that much clearer. It'll increase our capacity to cooperate both operationally with prosecutions, and we'll be able to disrupt more organised criminal gangs.
Other European countries?
Today we've got a thing called the Calais Group, which is meeting in London. It's going to be jointly chaired by Germany and the UK, and we're hoping that there'll be some positive news out of that at the end of the conference.
OK, which other European countries will be there?
Well, that's France, it's Belgium and it's Netherlands. So we all care about the...
We already have a deal with the French, don't we?
We do have a bespoke bilateral deal with the French, but this is about international cooperation. The criminal gangs cooperate across jurisdictions all the way through Europe, and governments need to get much better at doing that themselves so they can counter the threat that these gangs pose, not least the loss of life in the Channel, which has been the greatest this year that we've seen, 70 people lost already.
Talk to me about a story that we both became aware of this morning, the former Lord Chief Justice, Lord Thomas, saying that ministers should consider abandoning some jury trials unless the justice system is properly funded. Do you agree?
Well, I think the one thing that I agree about with his comments is that there are huge backlogs in our criminal justice system, which is leading to cases not even being scheduled until 2027, 2028. These are unacceptable backlogs that we've inherited. And I know that my colleagues in the Justice Department are looking at all kinds of ways to try to increase capacity in the system so they can deal with some of these backlogs. The pronouncements about jury trials today, I suppose, are one quite extreme way of looking at it. But we'll have to wait and see what colleagues decide to do. We all know that the delays are causing many, many problems, not least in the asylum backlog, because there are delays in tribunals to hear appeals. And so we've got to get this sorted. There'll be many ways of doing it, but I think that dispensing with jury trials is a personal view. Dispensing with jury trials is a one difficult end of some of the decisions that might have to be made.
Surely it's the bedrock of our justice system.
Exactly.
It's not something that you would support.
Well, I can't say as a member of the government what my colleagues in the MOJ are going to decide, but whatever that is, it will be put before Parliament, and I think the Lord Chief Justice has started a debate, and he obviously wanted to do that.
OK, I see what you're saying there. Why has the government decided to axe plans by the previous government for fortnightly rubbish collections? I was reading in the paper this morning, people might only have their rubbish collected once a month. That can't be right.
I have no idea.
I mean, but surely you would agree with that, would you?
I know it depends what sort of...
a smelly bin
It
there for a
depends
month?
what sort of rubbish. If it's organic rubbish, certainly I know that in my local authority area we collect that every week. But if it's rubbish that's recycling, there may be a reason for doing it less frequently. We know which rubbish needs to be collected most frequently, and that's the stuff that rots.
Yeah, I mean, you probably lived through the bin strikes as I did. You can't leave rubbish for a month.
Yes, I'm that old.
No, you're suggesting I am as well.
I've no idea what your age is, Kay.
Yeah, I'm 32, my son says. I'm
Again.
going with that. Exactly that. It's great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.